Lauren Woodweaver, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
So, Sally Dark Rides got started in the 70s, I understand, late 70s. Tell us a little bit about the gentleman that started it and kind of how he got rolling in this industry.
Sure. Well, we were started in 1977 by three Johns, all
Ugh,
local to the Jacksonville area. And they were all interested in animatronic production. John Rob Holland, who later became a dentist here in the area, had to give a presentation in his dental class, and he decided to make it extremely interesting by basically taking a mannequin's head and making the eyes blink and the mouth open wide and speak to the class, and it was really really cool. Um, and then he got an A, and that was kind of it until his buddies. John Fox and John Wood, my father actually, came over and thought this animatronic talking head was really the next big thing. That was when Star Wars first came out. So
sure.
robotics was in, to say
Yeah.
the least. And John Wood is the only one that really remains with the company today, but he
He's still with them.
he is. He got
Wow.
starstruck by that first Sally talking head and took it to market.
And so that's where the name comes from, is this original animatronic doll, mannequin.
Yes,
Yeah.
it really does.
And so, this was a time when animatronics existed. They were pretty rudimentary at this period. Sometimes you would see a single character, like in a store window or something, and then there was Disney, which had It's a Small World, which was kind of the definitive, uh,
Abs-
animatronics,
Absolutely. They
ride.
set the bar and they set it high. And originally, we were really in retail. We were helping companies sell their product in a very interesting way. So, selling ladies' jeans or Buster Brown shoes or Borden Food milk by way of an
Cow.
interesting Elsie the cow. But then we got started with IAPA a year later, which is the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions, and they understood the power of an animatronic thanks to Mr. Disney. So there we were. We got started in the entertainment industry in about 1978, and we took our animatronic characters far and wide. But
Oh,
yeah, a few years later, we decided to kind of change our mode and our business and become a dark ride provider.
so specifically focusing on kind of that entertainment experience. I mean, a lot of people had early experiences with, like, the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. Was that sort of what your dad was involved in?
Yeah, not Chuck E. Cheese specifically, but a lot of other
Okay.
pizza style restaurants. We did every animated band you could dream of, including, bears, slew of animals, Ursula and the Oompa for a German restaurant, you name it.
You grew up around this then.
Yes, I loved every minute. Obviously, can't shake it.
Wow, that's so extraordinary. And so, um, do you have a favorite memory of experiencing a dark ride or just even like an early animatronic that the company was involved with?
Yes, we did some work with Universal back when the studios was first being developed, and while we weren't a turnkey dark ride company then, we really were just an animatronics company. They hired us to do a number of figures, including a couple of my father. So he's
Wow.
actually in the ride twice. So that is that
Which ride?
the ET adventure ride, and it still stands. It's an incredible attraction. We cannot take credit for it in its entirety, but seeing those plants from ET's world be built in our shop and then riding alongside my father months later, that was pretty groundbreaking for
Wow.
me.
That's a great memory. So the rides themselves have changed and the experiences have changed. The company has changed insofar as, when you first began, you were either doing animatronics or kind of refurbishing some things, but you do now create from soup to nuts, right? You come up with concepts, you carry it all the way through execution. How long does that process take? Where do the ideas come from?
Oh, goodness. Well, we have an incredible design team that are constantly dreaming day in and day out. And then we also have theme parks come to us and say, hey, we've got this story we want to tell, or we have this intellectual property that we want to create a concept around. So we've been lucky enough to work with, nearby Legoland, Florida. We did 4 different rides for them across the globe called Lost Kingdom Adventure. We've worked with Six Flags amusement parks doing 7 Justice League Battle for Metropolis rides around the world. Recently, we worked with Portaventura to do a Sesame Street ride, and lately we have been turning out SpongeBob Crazy
Uh,
Carnival rides everywhere from Las Vegas to Turkey. So, yeah.
wow. So a huge footprint now, and the rides themselves have changed in terms of, the characters, but there's also this huge video element in many of them. You're starting to incorporate things like trackless vehicles, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, all of these, different types of, entertainment and elements. It must raise the level of complexity a great deal.
Yeah, and when you're going to IAPA Expo, once a year or sometimes 3 times a year around the world, you're constantly seeing new technologies, new developments, and we're always wide-eyed to see what works and what will work for years to come. While we are very advanced in technology and we always pay attention to the latest trends. Some of the best gags are tried and true that have been around for 100 years. So we take all of those cards and have them in our back pocket. And when they make sense to use certain special effects or certain large encompassing media components, then we do that. But sometimes they can be simplistic rides and sometimes they can be elaborate and over the top.
Can you describe for us something that might be sort of a recognizable moment in one of these rides? And also maybe one that was tried and didn't work?
Ooh, well, years ago, there was this theme park called Hard Rock Park in Myrtle Beach. That was the only really theme park that I can remember that didn't make it. It was a theme park all based on music. It was really an incredible, incredible experience. And an incredible park. It was just kind of an unfortunate time of the world and the economy
Mm.
in 2008. Our ride is revered as one of the most uh, different, let's say. It was called Nights in White Satin: The Trip. Not exactly a family experience, but, it lasted the years that the park was around, and, we've taken note of everything that's worked and everything that hasn't, and luckily, we've been fortunate that a lot of our rides still stand other than that one.
That's fun. And so now you've developed rides that really are in almost not in miniature, that can be adapted to a lot of facilities that maybe wouldn't have been able to accommodate or afford a full scale dark ride. So how is that changing?
Yeah, so, for years, decades really, we've been talking to family entertainment centers or location-based entertainment that have dreamed about dark rides, have desired dark rides, and we've typically had to turn them down.
And what kind of places are you thinking of there?
Something like a Las Vegas casino or like a strip mall or an old theater space, or, really, you're seeing tourist destinations kind of become entertainment hubs now, but they might not all have that theme park space.
Okay.
So while we had to turn them down for a long time, we finally have figured out the solution with the mini dark ride, which is only using 2 to 3,000 square foot of space, so can go into really compact locations, but still have all the bells and whistles of a traditional dark ride.
What did it take to change and be able to use that smaller space? Like, what was the obstacle, and what is it that you've learned the secret to?
Well, one of our designers, Rich Hill, is always on his toes, and he really wanted to find a solution to this small footprint problem we were having, and was inspired by the magician cup and ball trick, where you actually move through locations a couple times, but you don't quite realize you're doing that. So we have incorporated 2 rooms with large wraparound screens where we can put different media on it every time you go into that scene. And we have areas that you will pass through with scenic environments, but we use turntables to change those scenic environments. So, um, if we're talking about a SpongeBob ride, let's say, we might have Mr. Krabs on that turntable when you pass by the first time, but when you come back by, it's plankton.
Okay.
So we've just gotten clever on the use of space and the use of a trackless ride vehicle.
It sounds like a great fun sort of place to work. What kind of skill set do you need? Obviously, you sort of came to it through your family, but what kind of job requirements? What do people come to the job with? that you are looking for?
Well, we have so many departments at Sally. It really is a nest of creativity, but everyone has kind of their own lane. We have got an incredible design team that have come from design schools all around the world. We also have a sculpt and mold department, a shop department with welders and woodworkers, and
Mm,
then we have our art finish department, which is basically makeup and costuming and using materials to create art on top of our moving hard metal and machinery. And then, of course, marketing and sales and finance and all of that stuff and technical services as well. So there's a lot of different lanes that
yeah.
you can go down and then, may end up at Sally.
And so, I mean, we should say for people who don't know, Sally is based here in Jacksonville. It's where it was founded. It's on Forsyth Street, downtown. Um, what kind of economic footprint has it had?
We every year we're doing projects that range from 3 million to $30 million. So we've been able to, survive in a space that is very unique and hopefully make a huge footprint in the world as well as our reputation and brand is concerned.
And then just, recently there's been some expansion. I mean, here in the States, you're at Six Flags, you're at King's Dominion in Virginia. You mentioned Universal, but you are doing a lot more global work now.
Yes, global and here in the States. We're actually doing a great project right now for Kings Island up in Cincinnati, Ohio, bringing back a classic dark ride that hasn't been around for 30 years called Phantom Theater. It's an encore experience, completely different than the first, but with the same cast of characters that their fan base know and love. We're bringing an interactive component to the ride, so that should be really fun for their group. But yes, we're over also in South Korea right now, installing one of our largest projects to date. And we also have a mini dark ride, our first, going into Doha Quest in Qatar.
Wow. A huge, great expansion of something that started with a dentist giving a lecture. Well, it's fun to talk to you, Lauren Wood Weaver. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll be back in just a minute.